We continue learning Orchos Tzadikim, day 29. We pick it up on page 150 in the Treasure for Life edition. Continues the Orchos Tzadikim, Arba Madregois Yesh Bebusha. There are 4 Madregois within Busha. Hachas number 1, you don't want to do something in public. It's a level. It's a level of Busha that you only do in Aver in private. And you're like stealing from God. You're embarrassed in front of people. You're not embarrassed in front of Hashem. It's level of Busha. But it's a terrible evil. Number 2. You're embarrassed in front of everyone. And even in privacy, you don't do Averis. You're afraid, because maybe people might find out and they'll be embarrassed. That's the level. If you at least don't do Averis in privacy, why? Because you're afraid people will find out? That's a level. And hopefully we'll get to the Lishma. Hashlish is the 3rd level. Im Yachshav, you think, how can I do this in privacy? Asher advised on the Aved, Yosef on the Adain. Actually, more embarrassed in front of the servant than the master. I said, steal from Hashem. And from that thought process, Imanim and Aveira, Maila Toive Hizais. That's a great Maila. But our Ravias, what's the highest level that we're driving towards? That even in public, why don't you do the Avera? Not because people see me. Because Hashem sees me. Just like it's a tangible reality. Your friend seeing you do something, such as a Kadosh Baruch Hu, Ein ha-maila mizais, is no higher maila than that. Amru Chachamim teach Gazal close to Davar Avera Mitzvayish Ba. If you do an Avera and you're embarrassed, Meichel and Loyal Kolav Ainaisavite. I'm room for the Merbosh Ban in the Gan Edim. But Busha, shame brings us to Gan Edim. Amru Chacham Busha Vamuna Mechubar Zulazu. Amuna and Busha go hand in hand. Mechubar Zulazu Ki Abaysh and Machzik Vamuna Mkola Adam. Why? Because one who's embarrassed has much faith with people. One who doesn't keep his faith with people has no busha, doesn't care what people think about him. Because he doesn't care what people say about him. Because he has no amunah. They don't have any amunah. They don't have any trust and faith in him. Says the Chacham, when you have no shame, you're going to do whatever you want. And just to interject, of course, we see in the world people without shame and the decadence of society when shame is removed from people. Loilam, Yargaladim, not so person to custom himself. So you should never do something which his friend would be ashamed and a friend would object for him to do it. A person who would walk into his friend's house, and you'd be embarrassed to ask him to leave. You're sleeping in your friend's house, you're living by him, and he's disturbed by it, and he's embarrassed to ask him to leave. Or if someone would read your items, if any time one would be embarrassed what his friend would say, if you were to read what he wrote, if you were to see what he's doing, that's the way to train ourselves, that we shouldn't do those actions. Don't impose anything on anyone else. Don't ask something, any gift, or borrow something. You never borrow something. You never ask for something that the friend would be embarrassed to give you. Someone who has the midah of busha finds it difficult for his friend to be ashamed to him. Love only the man who gives the impression that he cannot get along without you. Even though you need him, you know him more than he needs you. And if you do something bad to him, he'll forgive you. He'll make it as if he did the thing wrong. So we want to accustom ourselves to this. We should always be in front of people that are embarrassed from. And the You should not lose your dignity by asking for things. You're not going to find anyone who's going to give it back to you. To give you back, but you lost that which you did it. So we have to accustom ourselves to act, to train, to be in situations that we're not going to want to do something, that we don't want to ask because we're going to be embarrassed. And that way we'll be able to train and work on this midah of busha.